Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt Schmidt here. I have a special guest today, one of our shining stars inside of Incubator, our high-level coaching group, Jennifer. I'm going to bring her on in a second to give her a little background on herself and her journey. But I want to set the tone and set the expectations of this call. This is just a short little interview. It's going to be a conversation, probably more like it, on one of the students that I'm super proud to see growing every single day inside of Incubator. She's not only growing herself, but she is also helping the other people inside the group in the community with ideas almost every single day, I think, but definitely once a week, and sharing her journey with everyone else, helping us all along the same path, right? That's what we're doing inside of Incubator. It's much more than just a course and things like that. It's really a community that we're trying to build of all like-minded people who are pushing towards their like goal, the thing that they're trying to do, whatever that is. I call it your definition of freedom, right? Just to pay a bill or to change your life and or be like me and have a house in Mexico and go both ways and go like that, right? So live there, live here. But enough of me, enough of this. Jennifer, I want to toss it to you and you give you a little background on yourself and then we'll get right into it. So thank you
Hi
for bringing
there.
it, coming onto the call, by the way.
Sure, you're welcome. It's great to be here. Yeah, a little bit about me. I'm Jennifer, and I believe for a long time that it just makes sense in any economy to have something alongside a regular 9 to 5 job. So I've
Sure.
always, for years and years, had something going on. And so I've tried a lot of different things and found that you learn more about yourself in those times. And I found that I really like numbers. Hello, e-commerce. I actually love what I love is actually like seeing people take action on your website that you put out, on something that you put up on a screen and someone takes action. Either they look at it or buy it or whatever. That just makes me wild with
That
joy.
excitement that I
So
see you in the group posting about all the time. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I can
yeah.
see that for sure.
So yeah, I joined. Do you want me to say
Sure. Yeah. No,
how I
we can
joined?
jump
I
right
guess
into it.
I
Yeah.
So I came across your ad on YouTube for some e-commerce coaching, and I said no for a while. And then I said, I know I had a little experience with Facebook ads and I liked it at the time, but I was just afraid of the changes and it had been years and I knew it was like a totally different animal. And I thought, well, if I ever do that again, I'm not doing it alone. I'm not going to sit there and figure out whatever. I just want someone to tell me
Yeah.
how to do it. So I joined actually Jewelry Profits and Incubator at the same time in January.
Okay.
I just jumped in. I'm like, no, I want the whole thing.
That's great. Yeah. So you came through straight into Incubator, but it was probably mostly you went right into selling jewelry as well and following the Jewelry Profits course that we have inside of
Mhm.
Incubator. Was
Yeah,
it
brand new stuff.
was it just like you got to be creative? One thing I think about you is that not only the energy but the creativity, like those lines that you're posting in the group and sharing and things like that. You're very creative in that. And I think that's why probably this speaks to you from a top level kind of concept of the business standpoint.
Yeah, this business model actually ticks a lot of my boxes. So I get to be creative and I get to see numbers change every day. So yeah, that's why I like it so much.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. Tiffany, one of our other students, had a very similar story, right? She just loves numbers. And it's why can't I just apply that to a business, right? And make it work. I don't say I love numbers. I probably am not on that. I'm more of a guy that just like being creative and then force myself onto the number side of things once in a while. But no, that's interesting. It's always interesting to see how people come into this, right? Because if you're like me, like I relate a lot of the stuff that I did growing up. And my brothers and I played with Legos and or video games or like superhero stuff or whatever, and that creativity, that imagination is what kind of got me into the ability to create shirt designs and messages and all these other different things. And then the other stuff you figure out, because I think the big thing for you, and I would like you to talk about a little bit, is that you've dabbled in this before, but this specifically is you jumped into it and we had a little bit of a conversation before this because I actually had to schedule you for this, but I'm amazingly proud of the growth that you've had. I've seen you have over this little bit of time. So that little spark that you had has obviously translated into more of that since then. So you found, like I said, like you came in through the one thing, you like numbers and stuff like that, but you had to figure out everything else too. So can you talk a little bit about that and like your journey so far and that figuring everything out and maybe testing and scaling and the things that you've done?
That's a big question.
Yeah, it is a big question. Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to make it all small
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, so I joined in January and the course has over 100 videos and I just binged trying to soak it all in. And mostly in the beginning, that's actually from fear of did I sign up for the right thing or and am
Right.
I going to mess it up too much or whatever. I don't feel like that ever happened actually, so that was nice. But yeah, so I watched all the videos. And then what made me actually say yes in the beginning was the fact that there's a Slack group with coaches all over the place. In there, I've been in other programs where that's not the case, and they're like in a Facebook group sometimes, maybe once a week, and it just feels like really hard, but this felt so much better. Yeah, so I started on the Shine On platform actually
Mm.
and made my first sales there. And it was so fun because once you get your first sale, it's like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And I just made that happen and I'll never forget that. It was amazing. And then I didn't even have to do my own website. Like it was just there and built. And I'm like, this is genius. This is genius. And I was like, thank you so much, guys, for making this available. Then when it came time to make a Shopify store, like Daniel actually made it for me and I was just like this is so fantastic and I it allowed me to expand into email marketing a lot more,
Yeah.
which is why I where I get all those headlines.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yeah.
I subscribe to a lot of email newsletters and rather than like cleaning out and canceling everything, I study their headlines and
That's
what they're
very creative. Yeah. No, yeah.
what they're promoting and I pick out the ones that I could tweak or use and in the group like we can all tweak or use these for maybe it's fashion but we could easily make it jewelry like fashion accessories or just some early Black Friday stuff or just really cool headlines so
Yeah.
subject lines.
Yeah, that no, that's
um,
great. I think that's a lot of what we teach inside of Incubator and inside of the course is the concept of modeling, which is what you're doing, right? So on a headline level, so that you're taking something that maybe I'm not going to take credit for it or whatever, but that's the stuff that I preach to you guys because that's how the whole world works, right? Your Coke, your Pepsi, your Chevy, Ford, those kinds of things. Those are modeling off of each other, and you take that concept, and then that's where we look for those sales proof, social proof designs and model off of them. Just doing that with like headlines that you like too, right? It's the same thing we do with the design too. So now I love that. And I want to touch on something that you said is like the support that you give. And that's what we're aiming to full circle this thing that's in the group is what we are aiming for because I think a lot of that doubt and fear that maybe you were feeling, and maybe you shared this, I know it was for me, but a lot of the doubt and the fear in the beginning comes from the fact that you're alone in your circle of the real world, at least, and your circle of friends, right? When you're the one that wants to try something new, even if it's 2 people, right? And that person's doing something and you're doing this thing, it feels isolating. You're like siloed because nobody really understands. I always joke that I've been doing this for 10 years and still I have some friends and family members have no idea what I do for a living. Or yeah, you still got that t-shirt shop. I'm like, yeah, I still got I'm selling, I have a t-shirt shop. Let's just leave it at that. That's fine because that's where I started. And maybe that's, you had that same feeling of maybe that isolation and that fear. And a lot of people can relate to that, but you overcame it in the moment. You trusted. Thank you, by the way. Appreciate it. And I wholeheartedly like that's what I'm aiming for. So I love to hear that you trusted us. And then when you came in, the support is what was happening. And that's what got you over through the 100 video fear too, right?
right.
And there's a lot of content because it's a business. Like we're trying to create a business here, right? So there's a lot of content, but I see it in the group all the time where you and Gary and other people are chiming in and helping people that maybe are a little bit further behind you because they're newer to something,
Newer,
or
yeah.
just, hey, I tried this and this worked, or hey, I understand you, right? That's a thing that when you're an entrepreneur that is so valuable. And I want to hear your opinion on that. It's so valuable to have that community because someone understands what you're going through in the moment and you can lean on that person, even if it's through a Slack message. You get to lean on them just a little bit. So if you could just talk a little bit more about that, because I think that's a really critical point for a lot of people.
I remember the first time I heard your story about owning a little t-shirt shop that nobody understands because I was like, oh my gosh, it still happens. That doesn't go away. No, what's in your bank? So that was just so helpful to me that you said that, because I think in the back of my mind, I'm hoping one day that won't happen. But now that I know that it still happens, maybe it's okay now, so it hurts a little less. But also, like, I was surprised. So I don't really have any entrepreneur friends. Like at my day job, there is nobody talking about any, like, you own what? You're doing what? Oh, good for you. And then they walk away. It's, you just can't share this stuff. So what was I going to say on top of that is, oh God, my friend. So I have a friend who owned his own shop, like a Spencer gift shop
Oh,
kind of
wow.
thing for years. And I thought, if there's anyone that I could talk to, it's him. And he was not even, he was like, "Oh, good for you." And then went like, "What? You owned your own business. Like just because
Yeah.
mine's online does not mean, oh." Anyway,
Yeah. No,
it's
that's
rough out
funny.
there.
It is tough, right? Because I think what it is, so and I'm really, I'll keep it short, is just even like my accountant and stuff like that. Like when he's like, all right, we're going through the books together. And I think I've told this story probably a million times too, but it's like, we're going through the books together. He goes, all right, where's your inventory? Where's the value of your inventory? And I was like, so funny thing, I have no inventory. I could see like his numbers brain, right? His numbers brain is just, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. Here's your sales. And like, where's your inventory? And yeah, it is. I got friends that own construction company. I got friends that own a couple of different, obviously now I know friends with multiple different businesses all across the world and stuff like that through Facebook and my journey in digital marketing and everything. But this, this model, this interest, this type of business model, right, is unique. And that's why we want to support you guys so much, is because not a lot of people are going to get it. And even if they're business owners, they're not going to get it. You might be able to share customers' stories or something like that, right? Or customer troubles or shipping.
Yeah,
Like we're both,
yeah.
oh man, lead times are crazy with stock and stuff like that for my supplier. And yeah, you can share stuff like that, but like otherwise they're not going to get it. So that's why we wanted to create this community. That's great. You've done fantastic so far. I joked with you because you're like, hey, my sales aren't where I want to be. And I was like, hey, guess what? My sales aren't where I want to be either. It's like,
Oh, that doesn't go away either.
you talk
Oh.
about like you're this feeling that never goes away. That's actually a really good feeling that you have there, because you can tap into that for motivation to work continuously. But if I was just like, you know what, I'm good, move on. Where's that gonna get me at any point in time? But you have created, are you cool with me sharing how much you've generated
That's
so far?
fine. Yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
over $5,000 in sales so far. Not only that, but you've learned the structure of this business. In my opinion, you're piecing all this together while you are doing a 9 to 5. And from this entire time, you're working this entire time, putting your feet under you on a real business that's going to generate you income. As long as you want to do it, it's going to generate you income for the future. And I think, like I told you, this is the shirt in my background here. You can see my finger in this video. This is the shirt, the first shirt I ever sold for a profit. It's not, I say that because it's not the first shirt I ever sold. It's the first shirt I ever sold for a profit. And it's now in here because I remember the perspective, and I remember that it takes one spark, and someone like you, Jennifer, is just one hit away. And the good news is, if you've done the right moves and you have the structure in place, the knowledge in place, and that idea on the email thing, I didn't even think about that. I was like, oh, that's really good. I probably should do that, because I'm just sitting over here unsubscribing literally every day. I'm like, how did I get on this email list?
No, it's gold.
So yeah, I think that's proud. I want you to speak about that journey a little bit if you can. You don't have to go too much into it. It's just up to you. But I think it's critical for people to understand zero, not even zero, because that would mean you took nothing. Like you had to put a zero on the board first. So you took that step.
Yeah.
And now you have $5,000 and you're doing this and you're putting the foundations in place while having a day job. Just talk about that a little bit, because that's where a lot of people are at.
It's not easy.
It's
It's not
worthwhile. So nothing easy, nothing worthwhile is easy. So yeah.
I could write a book on that, but let's see, like important points or something helpful.
How
I'm
about
really
this?
proud of
I'll guide you a
actually.
little bit. How do you
Okay.
balance it, right? Because I know you
Yeah.
did something really cool. I know, but how do you balance this workload that you have? Because you had a workload and then you created an additional amount of workload for you. So how do you balance that?
Mhm.
Because a lot of people are in that moment that might be taking that or need to take even more of that, right, on
Yeah.
their shoulders.
Okay. One of the things that I love that I have in place is a system of getting things done. So I have what we do is highly repetitive, of course. We're creating something, we're testing it, and we're doing it over and over again. Let's say, like, I have a system where I know if I have 10 minutes, I can sit down, look at my system, and be productive to the next step for that one thing for 10 minutes and move it to the next thing. So I think that has been really my saving grace in being able to make progress every day. I know I can just hop in, get that done. I've got like shortcuts all over my bookmarks bar, and they're in order of check here, answer messages here, and then so I go left to right on my bookmarks bar, check stats, check ad stats, and everything's sorted the way I need it to be able to make fast decisions. That's how I have it set up. So
That's
I can
great.
squeeze in.
But one thing
Uh-huh.
I wanted to talk about too is you approached your boss, right?
I
And then you
did.
got approval
I
to
did.
yeah. So talk about that just for a little bit because some people don't even think about that. And funny story is, guess who else did that?
Did you?
I did. Well, many
Awesome.
moons ago, but yes. Yeah. So talk about your decision because that's probably like the people, some people don't even register that on their radar. But talk about that a little bit because
Yeah.
that's a big move.
It was for me, and it took a lot to get to that point. So I reached a point in the incubator and the jewelry profits where I was like, look, I'm like running ragged. I need something to give. And you assume your 9 to 5 is like not the giving point because you have a boss, you have responsibilities, you have everything. And I think it was a mixture of like, I do get to work from home a very little bit, but he trusts me. So he knows that I'll respond. He knows that I'll. So we're building this really good working relationship. And the first thing I did was I showed him samples and I told him what I'm doing. So that wasn't the same time, but I brought in some samples. Hey, I've got some show and tell. I just wanted to show you what I'm up to. Because if you're on your laptop at lunch every day, people can get suspicious about what are you doing on the computer at work, maybe your personal laptop. So I thought I'd just nip that in the bud. I brought in my jewelry samples. I was like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing on my laptop at lunch." And he loved it. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to remember you at birthdays and Christmas and whatever." And I was like, "Oh, cool." So he really was open to it and we haven't had a problem. And then I realized Matt, you like doubled and tripled the amount of live classes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh." And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, okay. I was like, how am I going to handle this? Okay, so I want to go, of course, I want to go live, but it's like I'm not done with work yet at that time. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and it's just killing me. So at
Yeah.
first, I tried to like just watch the replays, and I'm like, this is killing me. I want to go live. I was like, I'm going to have to ask. I'm going to ask him. I'm just going to ask him because I started to feel like I want this to work. I want this to be my thing. I love
Yeah.
so many things about it. And if I'm going to be like that, I can't put it second so far second. I have to nudge it up a little bit in the day. And I went to my boss and I said, look, I'm still in this class. And I said, they have live calls at the very end of my workday. And I'm missing them and I'm missing out on this really valuable information. I can ask questions and it's part of the course. And I'm paying for this course and I don't want to miss it. And he said, fine. That's all. I was like, oh, because if you think about it, your coworkers, they have kids. Like my coworkers have kids.
Yeah.
They take time off to go do stuff with them. Like school's out early. They're shuffling kids around. And I don't happen to have that, but I would love to shuffle my life around my course. And he said,
See, so a couple of takeaways for me in this whole thing, right, is that you identified that this is a priority for you. And we did put a lot of new live stuff in the course and live
oh,
coaching. When we got coaches out the yin yang, right? We got a daily
mm-hmm.
ads coach. We got all these different cool things because we want to support a full 360 of your journey, right? That's the goal of Incubator. But this was a priority for you. Doing this thing was a priority for you. And you mustered up that energy. And I'm proud of you for doing that because a lot of people Don't even consider it. And you're hit the nail on the head. So my revelation of this was nothing against it. If this is your personal choices, that you wouldn't do it. But I had a guy that I worked with, a coworker that I worked with, that was a smoker. So he every 2 hours was gone 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And I was doing the math in my head. I'm like, that's fine. Nobody says anything to that. So I was like, hey, I forget what exactly it is because it's been almost a decade, but it was like, can I dip out on Thursdays and Tuesdays and Thursdays an hour early? Doing exact because of this reason, because I got to get home to this thing and I'd rather be live. And he said, yeah. And I was like, just that easy, because the concept of a work-life balance is a very important thing. A lot of people do that, right? They do want you to have that. And if this is a priority for you, then you make it work. And that's what I think is one of the, and that was a recent thing in your journey too. But I think that itself and that mindset itself is going to really materialize into something for you, because that is every aspect of your life. One of my, not to go back to it, but like, how do I end at 5 o'clock every day? Well, that's what I do. That's the priority, right? Because my little girl gets home from school at 5. Right. So that's so everything else gets prioritized around that. And that's exactly what you did. And anybody that's coming into this would have to learn up that skill too. So that's like when we say 360 incubator is just more than just a course and things like that. This group, this is the kind of stuff that I love coming out of it, because if you stick with that mentality, you're going to go really far, because most people don't do that. They just can't do it. Right. And they let a priority slip away. So I have to ask a question, and it's just to help everybody in here. Do you think an incubator was worth the cost and the investment into your future?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh.
That was a good answer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you said, I do feel like I'm in a position where it's just a matter of testing and time, and all the systems are in place, like all of them, like all of them.
Yeah.
If someone gets in my cart and they didn't check out, too bad for them because they're getting emails. Like all
Hey, good for
systems
you. Yeah.
are set up and they're go, and it's just it's a great feeling to be in that position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah. That's what we're going for. And it will, by the way, you're working through, at the time of this video, you're working through economic uncertainty, putting a foundation in the place to where you're not going to be walking once this uncertainty period passes. You're going to be sprinting. And that's where I think a lot of people, and that's something I straight out of my mentor is, as my mentality is like, where a lot of people would be like, I don't know. You're like, hey, I'm making it work. I'm putting the foundations in place. I'm investing into this future, because when it clicks, it's going to click. And you're going to be, like I said, not walking, sprinting. That's amazing. I appreciate you saying that. And that's what we're aiming for. So I'm very happy that you feel that way. Last thing I'll ask you, do you have a message for the other people inside of Incubator and or somebody to join Incubator of whatever, like you're not necessarily about Incubator, but like entrepreneurship or whatever kind of message that you've come to realize over your journey so far?
Just like in this time in my life, I decided my number one priority is a good boss. Also, my number one priority is a good group, is to be in it. There's nothing like being in a good group. There's
Love it.
nothing like having a boss you like. This is where I want to be. This is how I want to live my life, surrounded by people that I like. The first few times I was on a call with some of your coaches, just it really struck me. Their whole heart is there for you. It's not like they're reading a script. It's not like this is the lesson for today, good luck. It's
Mm.
in other programs I've been in, not like e-commerce. This is my first e-commerce, but they'll say, someone will have a question and they'll say, hey, this is where you look for that answer. Here, I don't even mind if the coach takes the time to walk the person through it. We're all sitting there online, and I love that, even though I think someone did that for me once, but I love that they take the time to do that. I think I'm a lifer, Matt.
Yeah, no, that is, I love to hear that too, right? Because I'm not on a lot of those calls besides the ones that I run. But yeah, that's why we picked them, right?
Yeah.
And the beauty of being in a group where you're with like-minded people is those long calls where if I'm walking you through something specific, as long as you have an open mind, and that's what we ask of everybody in Incubator, be like, hey, look and pay attention to what's going on right now, because more than likely that's going to relate to you in some way. And I just got something out of you on this call like that, because I'm walking into these things and always trying to have that open mind. So I do really appreciate your time, Jennifer. I know you're busy because we talk all the time. I will let you get back to it. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of Incubator because I know you bring a lot to this group and I know you will, hopefully for a lifetime is what you're saying. And then I can't wait to see you really get this click for you. I know it's in the works. It's just a matter of time because I know you're putting in the effort. I do appreciate you. And if you have anything else to say, now's the time. Otherwise, we'll see you later.
Thanks so much, Matt. I appreciate you too. If you're on the fence, just jump in with both feet. You like numbers, you like to be creative, you're in the right place. Let's go.
Love
See
it.
you in the group.
I see you in the group. See you.